Tennessee football is trying to light a fire under its offense again in 2025. And I think in order to do that, the Vols are going to have to go back to something that they did at an elite level early on in the Heupel era. I'll tell you what that is next. Hey, Lucas Panzica here from 104.5 The Zone and A to Z Sports. So, Tennessee was good at several things in those first couple of years offensively in the Josh Heupel era. And since then, after the 2022 season, we've kind of seen this program go back into that defense-first, run-the-football mentality as they haven't quite had the quarterback that can just make this offense pop the way Hendon Hooker could. Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava both had their limitations. And Joey Aguilar certainly could have his limitations this year as well. But there is one thing specifically that Tennessee did a very poor job of last year that they used to be so good at in the Heupel era that if they can get some of that back in 2025, will go a long way in reviving this Heupel offense. And that is first quarter scoring and getting off to fast starts in games. Now, this is something that kind of peaked in year one of the Heupel era. Tennessee was the number one team in the country in 2021 in first quarter points per game, scoring an average of 14.7. Over 2 touchdowns on average in the first quarter is an astounding number, and that did not necessarily keep up. But make no mistake, the Vols in the next 2 years were still among the nation's best when it came to starting off games. They were top 5 in 2022, dipped a little bit in 2023, but were still top 15. But in 2024, Tennessee's first quarter scoring average dipped all the way down to 43rd in the country. What was once a staple of the Heupel offense turned into a big weakness for Tennessee at the early onset of games, where they averaged only 6.5 points per first quarter with Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. Now, there are a lot of variables here, and there can be a lot of reasons for this dip in form when it comes to scoring in the first quarter. Penalties were something that held Tennessee back a lot last year. Straight up missing receivers, inaccuracy issues, something that plagued Tennessee a little bit last year. And it can also mean, generally, defenses having a better grasp on how to limit Tennessee's offense after it took college football by storm in those 2021 and 2022 seasons. Now, the point here is Tennessee has got to find a way to get back to that in 2025, because what we saw in those first 2 years was the way Tennessee was able to suddenly put defenses off kilter and on their heels to build those early advantages in games. Think about some of the biggest wins of the Heupel era, that 2022 season in particular. The way they started against LSU in Baton Rouge kind of started that ball rolling that led to a Tennessee blowout win at LSU, an LSU team that eventually won the SEC West. Same goes for that Bama game in 2022. I know it was a wild game and Bama ended up coming back, but how critical was that 18-point early lead for Tennessee when you consider just how close that game was towards the end, that crazy win against Alabama in 2022? Tennessee had multiple scoreless first halves last year with Nico Iamaleava at quarterback. It didn't all come back to bite them. They escaped with a win against Florida. They didn't after going scoreless in the first half at Arkansas, eventually losing that game in upset fashion. And when you look at what that loss cost Tennessee last year, you're talking about different playoff scenarios and a chance for Tennessee to avoid Ohio State if they had been an 11-win team rather than a 10-win team. So the first quarter consequences, or first quarter scoring, I should say, had massive consequences for Tennessee in 2024 when you think about it. Joey Aguilar comes in as a gunslinger, a guy that will rip the ball down the field. I think this Tennessee run game will continue to be at the level that it's been in the Josh Heupel era. And we've seen this offense scheming guys open in those early portions of games and just not being able to take advantage. Can the operation be cleaner with penalties, number one? And can Joey Aguilar take advantage of those moments when Josh Heupel just outsmarts the opponent? We'll see. Time will tell in 2025. But first quarter scoring has got to be something that Tennessee gets back to an elite level at this coming season.